Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger, and up next on the GM, Ravens versus Rams post-game reaction. Do me a quick favor, hit like. If it is your first time checking out the GM, hit subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. Man, what a big-time win by the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. This was one of those games, man, that had everything you wanted in a game: excitement, highs and lows, uh, and a clutch win. Right? I think this is the best team win the Baltimore Ravens have had in about 3 years. And it's not a situation that we haven't seen team wins before. But, for a good bit of the last couple of years, 3 years to be exact, we've seen the offense dominate a game, the defense dominate a game, but we rarely see all of the elements of a team get involved in winning. This game had that offense, defense, and special teams. So let's get into a little bit of the particulars. I think offensively for the Baltimore Ravens, the run game was kind of stuck in the mud, but they did what they needed to do to make it all happen. Lamar Jackson, of course, led the way with about 70 yards. And I appreciate the fact that Todd Monken didn't call as many run plays for Lamar Jackson. A lot of Lamar Jackson's yards came off of scrambles, which I really, really appreciate. I think he's even more devastating when the play goes off script and he has to improvise. And so he powered that run game in that way. I thought Keaton Mitchell did well and in the run game, and then Gus Edwards, never really got going. And maybe it was just simply because of the field conditions. It's wet, rainy, and he just never got going yesterday, and that's fine. We still did what we needed to do to get this win. Um, Surprised to see Justice Hill not get any carries at the running back position, but it is what it is. I thought the passing game was super effective. I thought Lamar Jackson probably could have had 450 yards if he and Rashad Bateman had a connected on a deep ball or a couple of deep passes, if he and Odell had a connected. And I think there was one time where I think he and Zay could have connected. But uh, the fact of the matter is the conditions yesterday were poor. Heavy rain at times. Um, the ball had to be soaking wet. There was no way to dry your hands. There's no way to dry the ball. So you just had to go out and do what you needed to do, man, to power through. And that's what makes me proud of the Ravens this morning is that they did not let go of the rope. There is times where the Ravens are facing an uphill battle. Things aren't going their way and they kind of let go of the rope. Yesterday, we saw all the elements that could have caused the Ravens to drop the ball, so to speak, offensively. We saw some drop passes. We saw an interception. We saw there was a time or two where there was some miscommunication. We saw where Lindenbaum hikes the ball when Lamar Jackson's not expecting it, which ends up in 2 points for the Rams, which would have ended the game in regulation versus overtime if they hadn't had those 2 points. But it is what it is. But with all of those things against the Ravens, we still found a way with the magic of Lamar Jackson, the playmaking of Zay and Odell. Bateman even got into the act. We saw Nelson Aguilar come up big in the third and fourth quarter with some timely catches. And they did what they needed to do to get the win. I thought the offensive line blocked solid for the most part of yesterday. Uh, Based on conditions. And so I thought, man, that we saw the offense develop some character yesterday. Character that has been hard to see this season. So, man, I'm super, super proud, man, of the guys who made plays regardless of the conditions. Because think about it, man. If it's a little cool, rainy, your pads are heavy, your shoes are heavy, uh, it's a little bit harder to move when everything's weighing you down. The field conditions are poor. You can't get a lot of traction, and we still found a way to power through. I thought Lamar Jackson made a heads up play, kicking the ball out of bounds on the safety versus trying to pick it up and do something different with it. And so, man, I thought that um, we did everything right yesterday based on the conditions. I thought Todd Monken called a fairly good game yesterday. Even though we didn't hit on as many deep passes as we needed to, Odell Beckham tracked the ball really well on deep passes, made some big catches, and I thought Todd Monken kept calling the deep routes and deep passes, even though um, even though you know they wasn't as prolific as we would like. I thought Isaiah Likely, which is somebody I mentioned in Keys to Victory, I thought he stepped up big yesterday, and I think that there will be more and more opportunity for him to play even a bigger role. Isaiah Likely looks uncoverable. I've said that many, many times. No matter who's guarding him, safeties, linebackers, he just looks uncoverable. And using him as a big target, which is something we don't always have, is going to be, I think, integral as we get down the stretch of this schedule. Let's jump to the defensive side of the ball. I thought defensively, we didn't play as well, right? In fact, I don't think we played well at all. I'm going to hit a few highlights defensively. I thought we didn't play well against the run. And maybe, again, maybe that's because the offensive line has the advantage when there's sloppy field conditions because they know when the ball's going to be snapped. Which means they can react a little quicker than the defense can. Um, I thought we got pushed around a little bit. I thought that I can't think of the name of the running back, Curran Williams. That's his name, I think. I think he got off the edge a little more, so I don't think we set the edge really well. And we have, I don't think we've allowed but one single 100-yard rusher all year. So for Curran Williams to go for 100 plus yesterday, 4 yards a clip, I thought that that was a that wasn't so swell. But again, the defense stepped up and made some plays late in the game to get a three and out in overtime and things like that. So shout out to the defense for doing their job when called upon. I thought that Roquan played an excellent game yesterday, sideline to sideline. I didn't see and hear as much of Patrick Queen um, on yesterday, but it is what it is. I didn't hear and see Jadeveon Clowney do much yesterday at all. I thought Kyle Van Noy played a really good game. I thought Odafe Owe played an okay game, and I thought that um, Marcus Williams played an okay game in the secondary. Uh, but let me hit something since I'm in the secondary now. Marlon Humphreys has been more costly of a player than a benefit this year. Now, I know that he's been in and out this year, and I know that he's battled injury this year. But when Marlon Humphreys has been in the game, he hasn't been a plus to this defense. Um, I've seen him several times this season get lost in coverage. I've seen him several times get beat. I've seen him, make a couple of penalties. He had a big penalty yesterday with a pass interference. And maybe he just has to find his footing, because he hasn't been, you know, in season form all year long, starting the season on IR and all those kind of things. Or maybe not IR, but starting the season hurt. But I think we need Marlon Humphrey to get it together, or or we need to put him somewhere else, play him less, play Ronald Darby or something. Um, I would like to see him get it together as we get down the stretch because we're going to face some big time wide receivers. We're going to face some big time playmakers, and we really need him to be at his best. Maybe yesterday was a ramp up game for Marlon Humphrey. I'm not 100% sure, but he didn't look as good yesterday. And at times it was very, very costly. I thought Marcus Williams played an okay game yesterday. And shout out to Cal Hamilton, excuse me. He played really well when he was in downhill, smashed my football in the run game, played some good coverage. But he got hurt, left the game, came back, and then he got hurt and did not return. So don't know the status of him. Hopefully we can get him back next week, but hopefully before the playoffs get ready to ramp up. But I think that again, as a whole team, shout out to Tylen Wallace for returning returning the punt for a touchdown. Man, that was big time yesterday. I was really glad to see us just in the game on a punt return versus having to go out there offensively and just try to make it work in poor conditions. I'm just glad he just took it to the house, ended the game, and we could get out of there with a win. So shout out, man, to all the guys who made big plays yesterday. Zay made a couple of big plays after having a tough game with some drops. Nelson Aguilar made some big catches late in that game. Like I mentioned earlier, Odell made some spectacular catches, tracking the ball really well. Isaiah Likely had a big time play, 50 plus yards for a touchdown. Ended up with something like 89 yards, something like that, somewhere in that area. Um, I thought Keaton Mitchell ran the ball well when given the opportunity. I like how they used Keaton Mitchell yesterday. Now that I'm thinking about it, I like how they used him. They didn't try to use him as an every down back. When they brought him in spot duty, in s- in some kind of context, that's how I use it in spot duty. He was effective. Okay, and I would like to see him used more that way. Yesterday was not the day for screen passes, but hopefully we'll get back to the screen game a little bit more. And I tell you what I was proud of. They didn't try to throw those crazy screen passes yesterday in poor conditions. Um, and so shout out to Todd Monken for making good decisions. Defensively, Calvin Noy played well. Justin Metabuke played well. Um, let me see who else played well. Again, like I said, Roquan played well. Marcus Williams made some plays on the ball. Brandon Stevens played well. Again, I know defensively allowing them to put up 31 points, it's not ideal, but I think that it's easy to lose a little bit of focus when you're cold, it's rainy, and um, at times it looked like the only person that wanted to hit yesterday was Roquan. Uh, but we got out of there with a win, man. So, man, shout out to the Ravens for getting that win. I thought that was a character building win. And I think to win in the rain and coldness yesterday could be pivotal, simply because we're not going to know what the weather conditions are week to week in December and into the playoffs. And all of the playoff contenders play outside, right? And so we're going to be subject to the weather all of the rest of the season into the playoffs. And so hopefully we can continue to build. We got Jacksonville next week, who got their heads busted yesterday. And so we'll get into some more detail of that as we get later into the week. I'm your guy, Boulanger. This is the GM, and we're out.